Town of Malabar, regular town council meeting, Monday, March 4th, 2019, at 7:30 shall commence. Please stand for our prayer and
We bow our heads to pray. May each of us thank our own Creator for the privilege of living in and serving our community. We ask for wisdom and guidance in any and all decisions. We also ask for the protection of the members of our armed forces. Pray for their safe return to strength of their loved ones. This we ask in thy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
please call the roll.
Council Chair Mayor Patrick T. Riley.
Here.
Vice Chair Steve Rivet.
He's excused.
I don't see
Council members Grant Ball,
him. Here.
Brian Bale,
Here.
Dick Horn,
Here.
Danny White,
Here.
Town Administrator Matt Stinnett,
Here.
Town Attorney Carl Bone.
Excused.
I'm the Town Clerk Treasurer Debbie Franklin, and for the record, the Fire Chief Mike Foley and our Public Works Director Tom Mallory are also in attendance.
Is there any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda?
I'd like to propose something, okay? I don't know, I've never come up with an agenda item, so I don't know exactly how to go about it. But after our public workshop meeting Monday, I was led to believe, or I got the impression, that we had really done some harm to this person's property on Flashy Lane, and that's why we were doing the 18-inch culvert down almost 400 feet of their property, because we needed to fix our bad action. And so I drove down Flashy Lane the next morning, and I can't see any problem at all. It's a very nice lane, okay? And I don't think that the town should be in the business of running, what is this, 380 feet of 18-inch culvert down this property line that for me is basically for aesthetics. What I heard from them was they were afraid that if we dug the ditch to improve any flow, that their fence would fall into the ditch. And I'm afraid that if you build a fence right on the property line of the town's easement and your property, and there's a ditch there, you're responsible for the integrity of that ditch, not the town. Okay. Part of the discussion was also this issue that we have with the water flowing over Hall at the intersection of Weber. And I came in and talked to Matt about it that morning and said, I think that instead of spending what would probably be about maybe somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000 of this estimate, this contract on Flashy Lane, we could apply it to solving the issue of the water flowing over Hall at Weber. And I mean, even if it meant putting in the culvert that we took out. Well, then I was told that the reason that we hadn't put the culvert in was because the plan was for that water to flow westbound on the south side of Hall, under Rawson, and then across and down Camden Creek. Well, it seems to me we could address that pretty cheaply right now.
All right, what we're going to do, we'll just add it as a discussion item. You're
Okay.
currently,
Right.
So we'll just add it as a discussion.
Yeah, I could discuss that because I'm very familiar with the situation, but not this time.
Yes, Ed?
Is Councilmember White going to be expecting an action on
No,
this?
just discuss it, I guess. Well, we can have an action from a discussion.
Right.
Okay.
So we'll just add it.
I just want to say that I'm going to talk about that tonight
All right.
if we can.
Yeah.
Okay?
All right.
All right, thank you.
The fence is good.
The other thing I'm going to add as discussion is our town lawyer was going to discuss cell tower lease, so we're going to add that. You got the memo in front of you, but
Yes.
Matt will address it. Okay. second, so we're gonna add that to discussion. Thank you. So we'll move on to proclamation of Irish American Heritage Month. Whereas in 1776, nearly 300,000 Irish nationals had immigrated to American colonies and played a crucial role in American war and independence. And whereas Irish Americans helped to fashion a system of government to our young nation, and whereas 18 presidents have proudly proclaimed their Irish American heritage, and whereas Irish-born Commodore John Barry was recognized by the United States Congress in September of 2002 as the first flag officer of the United States Navy. And whereas governors and mayors of 37 states or will designate March as this year as an Irish American Heritage Month. And whereas the Irish first came to Spanish La Florida in the 1500s, first as missionaries and mercenaries, soldiers, and then as planters, traders, businessmen, doctors, administrators. And whereas it is fitting and proper to celebrate the rich cultural heritage of many valuable contributions the Irish American have made, now therefore be it resolved by the Town Council in the Town of Malabar that the month of March is proclaimed as Irish American Heritage Month. So I'm going to present this to my dad at the Bible.
What is last year?
Tom's going to tell you.
Same proclamation last year. You gotta drink green beer on the 15th now.
That's an English trick.
So Tom's taking a
Tom?
picture.
You want me to take one with mine?
Sure.
Don't ask me, I got a flip phone, so.
Where's the Nina? Oh, I don't know. Sure want to go. She went home, huh?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Associate photographer. At least we wore some green. That's too bad. Oh, you wore green too?
All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. So I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the Town Council meeting minutes of February 4th, 2019.
I'll second.
We all agreed.
I got corn and Bill.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, 4-0. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of a special meeting on February 25th, 2019.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, 4-0. And I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the workshop meeting of February 25th, 2019.
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, 4-0. Thank you all. All right. Move on to the sheriff. Attorneys are here.
This is March.
All right, Trailing Greenways, not here. Park and Rec Board, not here. P&Z Board, not here. Move on to staff report from Matt, please.
Not here.
Seems to be going around. Yeah. I got several calendar items. Kind of the first one's going to be some military leave I have coming up in April and May. I've got my regular annual training was moved up from the end of the year, September time to April, so I'm going to be on from the 8th to 19th for that. And then in May, I have a leadership course to go to for my next promotion that will be from the 1st to the 23rd. So for both of those, I'll have access to my computer and I'll be available and phone and all that, so.
What was the April dates again?
April is 8th to 19th.
And we're required to say yes under the Soldiers and Sailors Relief Act.
Yes.
That's the law.
Then I'd like to do a couple workshops in the near future. The first one would be the 14th. And that is essentially an educational workshop for council. And I'd like P&Z to be there as well for our planner to kind of discuss this concept of an overlay that would help possibly address some of the issues with the coastal preserve zoning. And I kind of leave him to really explain it all in that meeting, but I think it's something that can benefit us, so.
March 14th.
March 14th for that date.
It's a Thursday.
Is that
Yes, it is.
an
Thursday.
issue for him?
It is a Thursday.
Is it a daytime workshop, or could it be a
We
daytime?
could do whatever, but
Because we're having a farmer's
That's
market
the
on
one I
the
would
16th.
like to do
Farmer's
the
market
planner.
is on the 16th.
That's
on
just
a
that
Friday.
date, March.
Who announced this is not available for a daytime workshop?
The mayor. Would you be available for a daytime one? Not an evening one?
Yeah,
Because the planner, as I understand it, likes to do workshops during the day.
I won't be able to help. I could go pick up the plan
that would be,
Workshop.
that would be afternoon.
the night before.
The
I pick
calendar
it up
with
in the
the,
morning.
Well,
and I
you
have to
know,
go
we'll
to
find
to
a
security or that.
general time that,
so probably
I mean, I can do it
3 hour.
at night, but it's hard. I gotta play our band's practicing that night for St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah,
That's the reason why I can't go. I'm a key person.
We want to talk at a convenient time if we did it in the day. Would that be really inconvenient?
Just in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Like a 3 hour, I'm speculating.
I wouldn't think.
I don't think it'll be a long one.
Yeah.
I think it's something we could probably do in an hour and a half or so.
Yeah.
Could we make it 2 o'clock?
It's fine with me.
Yeah.
I'm here, so.
Is that good with you, Brian? The Thursday?
Yeah, I'll let you know.
I gotta be able to get back to this.
So tentatively, we'll put it on the calendar for 2 o'clock on the 14th. Okay.
And the second workshop, I'd like to schedule as far as Public Works workshop. I'd like to aim for April 29th on that.
April?
Yes, April 29th, it's a Monday. It'll be in between my military duties there.
7 p.m.
It's fine with me.
What day was that one?
The 29th, it's a Monday, April 29th.
And then the last scheduled piece is our Public Works schedule for the month of March, which I've put in front of all of you. And we'll be posting it to the website. If there's no other comments or questions, changes that we'd like to see.
25th?
Monday, the 29th, I
29th.
I'd like to comment on it saying, wow, that's nice. That's
No,
what
29th
I
is
think
a
I've
Friday.
been asking for, something that
It's a
shows a
Monday.
timeline and what we've
29th
done,
is Friday. Oh,
what our projects are, along with
Okay,
this,
I see.
that shows what we've accomplished. This is gonna help us with the constituents' questions.
Communicating to the constituents.
I think this is gonna make a big difference.
Good deal. And then my last piece is kind of a report on my most recent TAC meeting, TPO. Had a few interesting items. The first one was an amendment to the TPO's 2040 long-range transportation plan. Nothing super major with it. They had just some corrective actions for compliance with the federal government. Part of the new FAST Act, Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act required several performance measures be added to the long-range plan. So they took care of that. There's a program that's coming to Interstate 95 in our area called the Road Rangers. They'll be starting up with 5 trucks spread throughout Flagler, Volusia, and Brevard County with about a 30-minute response time. Starting on April 1st, they'll be available Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. And you can dial star FHP in order to get a hold of them. They'll come bring you gas, help you change a tire. The idea is to get vehicles corrected as soon as possible. Once a vehicle is down on the side of the road, it causes accidents, and so they're trying to fund this new program to help speed that up.
This relates to road rangers,
Yes,
or it is road
it
rangers?
is the Road Rangers. We're getting 5 here in our sector of 95. There was a presentation by Dr. Gary Zerillo with FIT. They did a study on the Indian River Lagoon to see how changes to 528 and 520 spans, if they could increase those spans, if it would cause the lagoon to have a better job flushing. And it was kind of a cost-benefit analysis. We got the 528 bridge working towards actually getting widened and expanded, so they wanted to see this study done to see what kind of a change it would have. It's about a 9-10% increase in the flushing at best, so kind of an expensive item, but possibility for the lagoon, and they're going to continue doing studies on that. And then probably the 2 that impact Malabar the most is some changes to the FDOT tentative work program. They do a lot of, the FDOT does a lot of shifting on projects that are planned and moving through their planning progression towards construction. Kind of like puzzle pieces to get their funding to work out. If a project costs more than they expected, then they have to pull funds from one of the other projects to make it happen and get it progressing. If a project's not progressing as quickly as they'd like, they'll defer the funding on it to pay for the others. One of those was the actual widening of Malabar Road was moved, a portion of a design phase for mitigation was moved from 2020 to 2021. Excuse me, 21 to 23. The reason for that was to be able to defer a portion of Babcock widening project, which had a cost overrun of about $1 million. So they deferred that a few months, and then they deferred the Malabar Road one in order to pay for the first one, the Babcock. So we continue to get delayed, but hopefully we can eventually get it done. And that's pretty much it for that. So, any questions?
No, I think most of us on record, we don't really care about having Malabar really wide, we just want the traffic light.
So I would agree.
Yes. And yet we get no response there.
All right,
We
thank
don't
you.
do nothing.
Move on to Tom.
Good evening. All right, for the month of February, for roads, we did 45 roads we graded this month. We did 15 potholes that were repaired. That's also including the road edges on some of the roads that broke off, like potholes and everything. On the ditch cleaning, the ditches, the ditcher head did a lane, which was 2,650 feet plus 800 feet on Nats Road. And we did clean the ditches on Waring, which total of 4,070 feet on both sides of the road, east and west side. And we answered 12 citizen contacts, so it was taken care of. And plus our regular scheduled maintenance in parks and everything else. That's pretty much it. And now you have the schedule, so you know where it will be.
I like that.
Yeah. I saw you did,
That's awesome.
the north side of Hall Road today.
Yeah, we started that today.
That was good. Working with the great all on the dump truck there, so
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And, you know, the other day, just for grins, I guess, I decided I was gonna dig out either side of my culvert on my driveway, you know, like what y'all have been doing in other areas. And, as soon as I got down to the bottom of the culvert, I struck water. It's just a nice little pool of water right there in front of my culvert now, you know, so.
Big pool.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes, Dick?
I have noticed, I could say pleasantly or concernedly, I don't know which. We've been doing a good job in upgrading some of the dirt roads that the town don't own. I mean, Rollerson looks really good now, and I can't think of the name of the other one that I looked at the other day. It's not property of the town of Malabar, but we've done a nice job in upgrading them. I would like to see us come up with a proposal or a proposed plan on how to make some of these roads that are not the property of Malabar, not the responsibility of Malabar, but Malabar citizens live on them, how can we make them ours? Or how can, make it kind of a strong word, how can we move on to where they become the property of Malabar?
Bring them up to accept it, is what you're trying to say?
That's up to the residents to do that.
Well, they're expecting us to maintain these roads. I get calls, you know that, because I brought it up before.
Just give them the approved
And we
list.
are doing some nice work on roads we shouldn't be on.
Other than Rolliston, which one was it?
But it looks good.
Yeah.
We're doing good work anyhow.
Was that,
We don't go on Alabama.
We're just
was it Alexander? I think that's what you mentioned to me the other day.
Yes, that was one.
We don't do
They
it.
don't own Alexander.
We
No,
that's a
don't
private
go
side.
anywhere near.
Alexander's the driver.
The only road off of Malabar Road we did was
Yeah, but-
Shiflett, which is.
Alexander isn't the one I'm thinking of, but now that you bring that up, somebody has done it. It's the ability that only the town of Malabar's got.
That's private easement. Are you talking about Shiflett?
Shiflett, maybe?
Shiflett we fixed.
Private-
That's
I-
on
I-
the
honestly,
road.
yeah. I don't know which the other one is, and I'd have to go back out right around town. But I know Rolliston was one, there was another one, and then I have noticed, now that you mentioned it, that Alexander looks very good. And that's a situation that we need to resolve somehow, either build silver, or, I don't know what the answer is there. But it should be resolved for the sake of the property owners adjacent to it.
Anything else? All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Move on, fire chief?
Evening. We've got a different sheet than you guys have, so we'll fix where this one came from. So this will be the call volume. According to the sheet you all have, we have vehicle fires were up 3%. EMS were up 60%. Accidents with injuries 3%, without injuries 7%. Our refrigeration leak, which was at Harris, we're up 3% from last year when that occurred. Good intent calls is 3%, canceled by dispatch was 10%, alarm system sounds on, no fires was also 3%. On the total training hours, it's a change, it's 153 instead of the 55. On the left side. From 114 to 110, we averaged 7 calls. 4 EMS, 2 motor vehicle accidents, 1 public assist. That's where these statistics came from, is what I'm showing you all now. From 111 to 117, 11 EMS calls, 1 electrical wire equipment with fire, 1 public service, 2 dispatch and canceled. Mr. Mayor, it's these, you didn't get a copy of this, I'm sorry. I didn't send this one to Debbie. When I faxed it, I thought these faxed with them. Just the totals. This is where these statistics come from. From 118 to 124, 4 EMS calls, excuse me, 1 motor vehicle accident with injuries, 1 gas leak, 1 public services, and 1 false call. That runs 8 calls that month, in that time period. From 523 to 130, 3 EMS, 1 vehicle accident with injury, 5 public assist, total of 5, 13 calls total in that area. And from 131 to 217, 6 EMS calls, 1 vehicle accident with injury, 2 public service announcements, 1 authorized control burn, alarm system sound from residents. We had 1 dispatch canceled, 12 calls in that month period. From 2/8 to 2/14, 3 EMS calls, 1 vehicle accident with injury, 1 dispatch canceled, total of 5, total 52 calls. That's where we're at. Any questions? Next time this will go, the numbers, even when you got the 55, it was the prior before putting in the total man hours. We're training, yes, sir.
Christine, we still have the ladder truck?
Yes, okay, as y'all brought that up, I have a meeting on Wednesday with .gov, right, Stacy Kurtz from .gov. She's coming by Wednesday. I have pictures from the ladder truck and the old engine. So that is in the process of removing it from our fire station. So that is on Wednesday, yes, sir.
Sounds like a lot of what your calls involve EMS
Yes, sir.
situations. Is there any need for us to encourage additional training, additional EMS training? I know most of you people are well trained to a
Yes.
level. Do they need to go beyond that, or would it be helpful if they did go beyond?
It's always helpful to go beyond your
Yeah.
skills. Everybody we have is EMT. So basically the next skill from there is paramedic. And that's
I didn't
not
know if
cost
this is
efficient.
something we ought to be thinking about promoting and funding or not.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, I have had a conversation with Dr. McPherson, our medical director. We are looking to go to EMTI. Again, this is a different phase, we're in the phase process. EMTI is EMT that will start IVs. We are so far out of the area that 84, 83, Brevard County's hiring a lot of non-cert firefighters, so they're spreading ambulances everywhere, that's the response time. So we are looking through Dr. Mack to become EMTI, which we can start IVs. Again, that's advancing our department. That's, again, negotiation with him, and that's what we're looking. Next meeting, I'll have more information on that. I'll have another meeting with Dr. Mack. You brought that up, I was going to wait till I have further information from Dr. Mack, but yes, sir.
Well, I should have brought it up when I saw you earlier today.
That's all right. That's perfectly fine. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Debbie?
I'm back, and I will be continuing to work on updates to the land development code. So you'll see some more of those maybe in the April agenda. That's all.
Did you receive everyone's invitation that they're going next Monday?
Yes, we made the reservations for the March meeting, and Malabar will have 15 people there.
15.
And I understand you're doing the pledge,
That's all we're gonna do.
I believe so.
You going, Dick?
Dick is going, Dan is
You wanna
going.
go? You wanna do it?
The pledge?
Or Dick? I was thinking Dick.
Go ahead. You do it, you're the mayor.
No, I'm not doing it. I gotta do this. What you want me to do is like Wars Up Road. That'll be it.
You're recording this.
They called because they're putting together the schedule, and we gave them your name. We
As
just,
the prayer?
the pledge.
Pledge.
Oh, the pledge. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did prayer last year.
I'm sorry.
Is that what the 2 horses?
I was thinking of
Yeah,
prayer.
pledge.
Okay, pledge. Got it.
So you're signed up.
I think somebody from Grant's gonna do the prayer for us.
Yes.
Yes.
Because they are the host, we're the co-host.
Here. Okay. Okay, thank you. That it? Any questions for Deb?
And where is the meeting this time? It's in a barn?
Rib City.
No, Rib City. They're
Right
moving
out
out of the barn.
We're out of the bar?
We're actually in the building,
Yeah,
the restaurant.
No, well,
One that's north of the, north end of the parking lot.
It's called the barn.
Appropriately so.
Out of the other barn.
I mean, it's Malabar,
Well,
but they
it-
say to us, yeah.
Then waited too late to get
We're going to the barn, that's rural living at its best.
off the creek.
okay.
Oh, well.
All right, we'll move on to our public hearing. The first one is amend the Land Development Code Ordinance 2019-1. We'll read by title only.
An ordinance of the Town of Malabar, Brevard County, Florida, amending sections 1-12.5 of Article 7 entitled Procedures for Adopting, Supplementing, or Amending the Land Development Code of the Land Development Code of the town, removing that portion of section 1-12.5 of the Land Development Code of the town relating to the decision-making authority of the Planning and Zoning Board, providing for conflict, severability, codification, providing for an effective date. This was legally advertised on February 14th.
I'll open it up to the public. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this matter? All right, I'll close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion for approval of ordinance 2019-01.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion?
Excellent, Dave.
Any discussion? All right,
Is this basically just housekeeping?
yes.
Yeah.
We did it, this is the second meeting.
Well, it's just
second
got the
reading.
cross through so everything reads correctly, right?
Right. This is the second reading. Right?
Yes, this is the one, this is the ordinance where we learned while we were going through Kay's electric land zoning change and land use map change, that our code actually reads that P&Z had the final authority to grant or deny such a request, and they don't, council does. So this takes that language
So
out.
that's been, that language has just been crossed out in C.
Correct.
All right, we'll do a roll call vote.
Okay. Councilmember Ball,
Aye.
Councilmember Vale,
Aye.
Councilmember Rivet is excused, Councilmember Corn,
Aye.
and Councilmember White.
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to amend Land Development Code Ordinance 2019-02. Please read by title only.
An ordinance of the Town of Malabar, Brevard County, Florida, providing for the amendment to Table 1-3.3A in Article 3 of the Land Development Code, providing for findings, providing for new setback allowances in RR 65 zoning for accessory structures only, providing for codification and repeal of ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
I'll open it up to the public. Anyone from the public wish to speak? All right, public hearing is closed. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of ordinance 2019-02.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
And again, just for the public, this is basically saying that your accessory structure, where it's typically 30 feet is the setback, the accessory structure, sheds, so on and so forth, barns can be 15 feet. So-
No,
Or the height of
the
the-
height of the structure.
But still no less than 15 feet.
No closer than the height of the structure,
Okay.
Or 15
or
feet,
15 feet.
whichever is greater.
Right.
Whichever's greater.
So if it's 20 foot tall, they still
Still
can't be
have to be
closer than
20
20 feet.
Correct.
So-
Okay.
And it's
Yeah, I
only
forgot
in
about
that zone.
aspect of the formula, but-
36 feet.
Well, that's a big change in it. So,
We'll do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Ball,
aye.
Councilmember Vale,
Aye.
Councilmember Rivet excused, Councilmember Corn,
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0.
Thank you. Move on to amend Land Development Code Article 3, Table E, Ordinance 2019-03. Please read by title only.
An ordinance of the Town of Malabar, Brevard County, Florida, providing for the amendment to Article 3 District Provisions, Section 1-3.3E and Table 1-3.3E of the Land Development Code, providing clarifying language for setbacks for principal structures on certain roads, correcting a scrivener's error and removing conflict with the comp plan on right-of-way width for minor collectors and removing Briar Creek Boulevard from the list of major collector streets, providing for codification and repeal of ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
Open up the public hearing. Anyone from the public wish to speak? All right. Public hearing closed. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of ordinance 2019-03.
I'll make a motion for approval.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
I have a
This
question.
is the one that, right, it sets out to where we're gonna do the arterial roads. US 1, Malabar Road and Babcock Street's gonna be 100 feet for your setback. The only thing I didn't understand here, are we talking, that 100 feet, is that from the edge of the road right away or from the center of the road? I missed that sometime.
Table E says you go from the center of the road on these particular streets. Everything else, we refer to people to use table A, which is from their property line.
That was the only thing
And the two big corrections are, there was a conflict. Our comp plan says 70 feet for minor collectors, and our code said 80, so we needed to fix that. And our comp plan does not list Briar Creek Boulevard as a major collector, but our code did. So we needed to make those two corrections.
And we scratching Briar Creek Boulevard.
Correct.
Yes.
It'll never.
And that's the question I had, because I know we're trying to say that Babcock Street, US 1 and Malabar Road are the major collectors.
They're arterial.
Okay.
Arterial
What?
roads.
Arterial Road, whatever, well,
They're not major collectors.
remove Briar Creek from the list of major collector streets. So those are the major collectors.
Okay.
And I wanna know why Briar Creek wouldn't be, you can't get in it.
Well, I'm
You
gonna
put
tell you,
Malabar Road and US 1 and Babcock Street in the major collectors, and there are arterial roads on the arteries on the outside of this. The major collectors are Corey, Weber, Marie, and Jordan.
Well, what does this leave Briar Creek Boulevard, which you can't, if you live in that area, you're gonna drive on that road to get home.
no, you don't, we tried to explain it to you last time. It goes between two major roads. Briar Creek was planned to go from Port Malabar Boulevard all the way down Malabar Road.
That's right.
It will never happen. It stops, so it's not a
But the
major.
people who live in that area, if you go back to 2004 when the hurricanes existed, and there was a tree down across that road, they couldn't get in or out of their neighborhood. They couldn't go to the grocery store.
That's why
But
it's
it
not
has
a
nothing to
major.
do with whether it's termed a collector. It's just the definition of the road.
If it was a collector, they could have gone the other way and got out. They can't.
They're in a dead end street.
We've
Yeah, the
adopted
collector
the
is
state
between
roadway
two-
classifications, which are kind
I'm
of
just real uncomfortable with it says. Actually, I'm uncomfortable with the road being cut off the way it is, but that was done before my time.
Any other discussion?
Maybe 1800s.
All right, we'll do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Ball,
Aye.
Councilmember Vale,
Aye.
Councilmember Rivet is excused, Councilmember Corn, Councilmember, White.
Aye.
Three
Most generic name.
Sorry.
Who is that guy?
He runs Walgreens.
Danny Black, nice to meet you.
All right, we'll move on to amend Land Development Code Article 5 regarding setbacks, ordinance 2019-04. Please read by title only.
An ordinance of the Town of Malabar, Brevard County, Florida, providing for the amendment to Article 5, General Provisions, Section 1-5.10 of the Land Development Code, providing for clarifying language for setbacks for principal structures, providing for reference to Article 3, District Provisions, Table 1-3.3A and Table 1-3.3E in the Land Development Code, providing for codification, providing for repeal of ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
I'll open up the public hearing. Anyone from the public wish to speak? Public hearing closed. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of ordinance 2019-04.
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
All right, any discussion? do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Ball.
Aye.
Councilmember Vale. Councilmember Rivet is excused. Councilmember Corn.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0.
We'll move on down to action items, ordinance for the first reading, resolution. Adopt resolution providing FDOT acquisition of Fern Creek 1.1 acre parcel. So I'll entertain a motion for the, or is this discussion or?
You can entertain a motion. It's
Okay.
it's their resolution, so we don't really.
Okay, this was, the resolution was written by the FDOT.
Correct.
And it was in your packet, so we can discuss it and then entertain a motion after discussion.
Yeah, the agenda report pretty much summarizes the scenario, why we're asking for this and why we're recommending that council approve it.
So basically, the way I look at it is, we tried to trade the land to get some work from them, and they pretty much denied to do that. So they still need the land to do their infrastructure of that intersection. So I know Doug wanted to get them to pay for under the road, Malabar Road. They're not going to do it. So what we got to do is we got to work with them in we're selling them or giving them the property, or selling, I guess, and we're selling.
The state DOT is offering compensation for the improvements on that land.
Okay,
They will not go to the town, they will go to DEP.
right.
What I'm understanding, this land it was not like land that we, the town, purchased. It's the land that was given to us through either EELS or the state or,
Community development.
right?
Preservation 2000.
So it was a preservation thing. Now that land's needed by another governmental industry, the DOT, and we're just basically transferring it. It was transferred to us, we sat on it, we used it for conservation, now it's gonna be transferred to them, in my understanding.
Correct.
Dan, can you pass it down, and please excuse my scribbles here, but been trying to say something for a couple of years on this. Many years ago, I brought up to him, when we first started talking about Malabar Road, making changes there, how do people get coming from the south, up Corey or Weber Road, how do they get on the Malabar Road if they're going to turn east? And I said we needed a turn lane, and if you see here, what I've got dotted there in red, that would be the turn lane, which would be helpful, but that's gonna, at the time I didn't realize that would be the responsibility of the town of Malabar. We would do it, we'd pay for it, it'd be all ours. But the fact is, somebody sitting there, like when my wife was going to work, she had to go east towards US 1 in Melbourne. She had to wait till all the people wanted to turn left. Had to clear before she could turn right, even though turning right only had to have one Malabar Road direction clear. DOT changed what I was saying at that time to wanting to put right turn lanes off of Malabar Road onto, going south onto Corey or Weber Road. That would be the things I've got in here in green. A little while ago, I had to come up to my warehouse behind here. I came to that intersection of Weber Road and Malabar. I was going to turn east. There's a guy coming from the west on Malabar Road, turns his turn signal on, like he's going to come onto Weber Road. So I went on, I pulled on out, like I do and everybody else does. Had this been in effect, somebody could have come right around him and crashed me. This is putting turn lanes coming off of Malabar Road onto Weber and Corey is a very dangerous situation. I've talked to public safety people here and in Maryland about this same issue, and they agree with me. You're used to, if somebody's turning, go ahead, speaking, you've got a clearance, and you don't have. You can't see the person coming around behind them. And there are going to be accidents, and people are going to die there, and I don't want to be one. I'm not ready. for that. And they want to use this Fern Creek Crossing Park to do just that, to be the green one down here in Corey. That's what they want to do with it. I have been there. I can tell you exactly. Their office on Mayhem in Tallahassee, where I was last year, when I called it East Tennessee Street, but they changed the name of the road now.
Office of Mayhem?
They said, yeah, that's what they want, that Fern Creek Crossing Park to put a turn lane in. They wanted the easement to get over there so that people could turn south onto Corey from Malabar Road. And what I would like to have seen done was what we've done coming from the north of Corey to get onto Malabar Road. It's a whole lot safer. So I'm opposed to this for that reason. I'm opposed to it also because we acquired that property with the requirement that we would maintain it as a conservation site. And this isn't going to be conservation. Not putting a pavement up there and for people to drive on. We don't have the right to any way at all transfer this to FDOT with that provision that they're not going to use it for conservation. We would be violating how we got the property.
Debbie will address that statement.
That's why both DEP and DOT are involved in this transaction, because DEP is the acting agency that dealt with the Preservation 2000 Conservation Program back in 2000, that we participated in and agreed that any land that the grant got us, we would manage in conservation, whatever their conservation requirements were. That is why, in order to be relinquished from that requirement and from that grant, this parcel will no longer be part of that program, and that is why the $4,000 or whatever the revenue is would go to DEP rather than to the town of Malabar. We're not continuing to maintain it. Will no longer be in our name, it will go back to the state of Florida's name on the deed.
And the reason the Fern Creek Crossing was established, Brian, you may have been on council at the time, Bobby Moshe was, she brought it up. At the same time that the disc golf park was brought up. She wanted it as a place for people who walked for exercise, would have a place to stop, sit and rest, and move on. It was also a major project for Boy Scout, Eagle Scout projects. And one of the things, I was on the Parks and Rec board at the time, I wanted to see happen that didn't happen, and that's probably my fault. It could have been a very educational trail of different plant life and local horticulture. It could have been it could still become a very interesting and educational site in the town for people learning about the plant life in this part of the town. I just don't want to see us give up something that was given to us for one reason and we corrupt that reason.
Well, the way it is, it's part of the land pool agreement of DEP, and we really don't have a say in it. We don't have a card in the game.
We do have a card in the
Well,
game.
we do, we
Yes,
have
we
the
do.
names on the deed, so
Yeah.
we're a party to it, but
We're a party to it.
We're responsible
We own it,
for the property right now because we received it with agreement to the stipulations for it being given to us.
So DEP is asking us in a joint effort.
Are they, or are they agreeing with FDOT just because they're being intimidated to do so?
Debbie?
there's no intimidation. This is,
Somebody is.
the grant is through the state of Florida, which is managed through the Office of Greenways and Trails, which is a sub-department of Department of Environmental Protection.
Yeah.
The TPO program is working with DOT in trying to widen Malabar Road and as a separate project, improve the two intersections that we've requested, Corey and Weber. And they have acquired all the right-of-way that they need to make that, with the exception of this piece.
It required the property in front of Dr. Levy's offices?
Yes.
Dan's.
Okay, that's not an improvement on the thing, that's whatever the opposite of that is. That's making it a much more dangerous intersection.
Hi, Danny.
Okay, thanks. I agree with half of what you say, okay? First off, the right turn lanes off of Malabar Road onto Weber and Corey don't really do anything to help our residents. DOT wants to do that in order to improve the arterial flow of Malabar Road. And it does present a danger like what Dick talks about. My wife and I have already seen when we're sitting out there waiting, people will actually pass on Malabar Road right there at those intersections. I turned off of Marie Street onto Malabar Road a few months ago and almost met a big red truck, not you, okay, head on, passing all of this westbound traffic on Malabar Road in a 30-mile-an-hour zone, well, almost 45 there, okay, doing about 60 miles an hour. And I had to pull into the dirt to keep from getting pummeled my little Ford Ranger against this huge red truck. And I was so mad I turned around to follow him. You know, I probably would have gotten shot if I could have caught him, you know. But I wasn't going to pass everybody in order to cut. Matt was here that morning when I came in. I mean, unbelievable. So I really don't see where giving up this property so that they can put in a right turn lane benefits us at all, okay? Now, the other half of your argument, last year when we talked about these right turn lanes off of Corey and Weber onto Malabar to improve eastbound exit, okay, out of Corey and Weber, I asked, well, how much traffic do we have? And nobody really knew. So Pat joked with me, well, you can get a lawn chair to go out there and count traffic. Well, I got a truck, so I sat there, you know, in the shade, and you know, every morning for about a week, and I counted traffic. And I found out that really nobody was...
When you're going to work in the morning, about the only time it's a lot of it.
Right. And I did this between 7:30 and 9. And nobody was influenced or delayed in any monster. I mean, I kept seconds. I still got that information. But what I found out, Dick, was that a good half of the traffic that we have here are big vehicles. Trucks like yours, vans like yours. And if one of those vehicles pulls up in a proposed right turn lane, and you're sitting there in the left turn, what is the current lane, wanting to turn left or go across the street at Corey, you're not going anywhere till that vehicle moves because you can't see anything. I know they have a right turn lane off of Corey southbound, you know, the other side, but really, it doesn't help. The only place a right turn lane actually helps is at a lighted intersection where that traffic absolutely has to wait for a green light. And then when you're in that right turn lane, like up here on Malabar at Babcock, you can either turn on the red or you can get a green light when that's available, okay? All right? And so, just in reason, you know, even though it seems like it would expedite traffic, already, you know, you use Weber more than Corey probably. So when I pull up on Corey, you almost have to pull up onto the Malabar Road just to see the traffic with all of the obstructions division that's already there. Yeah. And so if you put another turn lane in, and we looked at it at a cost of about $150,000 per turn lane, you're really not improving the flow of traffic in any real sense, okay? My wife has a very small car, okay? She's got a little...
So she can't see over one.
Right. But what I'm saying is consequently, because her car is small, she'll be up there to turn left to go to the nursing home where her mother's at. And if somebody can squeeze around her in the shoulder to turn right, they're going to do it, and she's stuck.
When this came up with me was years ago when Joanne was still working downtown Malabar. She doesn't go that way in the morning anymore, so it's not an issue for my house.
But anyway, getting back to this proposal, I would say no, we don't vote to give them Fern Creek, you know, because they don't really want to do anything with it that's going to benefit us.
All right, how about when they widen Malabar Road, maybe not in our lifetime, but they're gonna need this property anyway, you know, when they do that.
Well, I'll come back down.
Let's wait to keep the land now and wait till that day happens.
Let me ask you, Matt, did I hear you a while ago say that sometime between 21 and 23, they'll be funding the widening?
No, that's a portion of the planning for mitigation.
Well, they haven't even funded it, any of the
planning yet for the widening of Malabar Road, nor have they funded anything for the widening of Babcock Street, which was 6 years ahead of Malabar Road.
The
Say,
planning
don't hold your
development.
breath.
So is it,
engineering
like you
is
say,
going
maybe
on
not in our
Babcock
lifetime?
now, but
Someday.
the misconception that they're doing a right turn lane off of Malabar Road is wrong.
Yeah.
It's a center turn
That's
lane,
similar.
so they will have 2 lanes of traffic with a turning lane in the middle from
Kind of like in front of the
the
hospital.
west side of.
Right at
Weber
that
to
intersection, they're
east
planning right
side
turn
corner.
lanes.
And if that center lane, excuse me, was long enough, it could help us, okay? Because then you would only have to fight one lane of traffic to get westbound on Malabar from Corey or Weber, okay? But it would have to also be long enough that you could get into that center lane and wait for your opening to move over into the actual lane of traffic. Just like the center lanes work down there in front of the hospital and nursing
That's
homes.
exactly what they're.
They are planning a right turn lane there. I think, was the man's name Hancock, the engineer that was here at a meeting 2 years ago?
I got Debbie, actually, I got a question for staff, is this, okay, everyone's believing that this is what they're gonna do, but in actuality, aren't they building the center lane? And they need the land to make this, to curve Malabar Road over a little bit.
How about
Whatever they
find out
need for
more?
their design, they've acquired for these 2 projects. These are not part of the widening, this is a
Correct.
separate
Right,
project.
this is the center lane, is this the
It
center?
This-
lane?
has nothing to do with the
Safety
center lane.
This is what Laura was talking about, the
Yeah.
safety lane.
To do these 2 intersections. And it's a center lane, just like Matt explained, and Matt's been going to all these meetings, so he can explain the thinking behind this. But it is definitely a center lane, like in front of the hospital, it's not a right turn left, or left
Well,
turn
so it's
left.
not,
And it's
it's
nothing on
not
Mount,
this.
on.
That's
So
what I was
you
trying
talk
to-
to the people that are involved in the land, in the office there, Steve Owens, and I can't think of the lady's name. that I talked with, it is a turn lane here.
No, they're not there.
And that's what they're telling me, it's a turn lane, in both cases. And put a center lane there, where's the center lane gonna be in for how long?
It's a center turn lane. It's also part of the final
Massive.
design for
Right.
Who's,
major
they
widening.
haven't listened to a word we've said. They've come to us and told us what we want. We haven't told them what we want. They are not at all willing to listen to us.
Who would agree? Like,
Well, I'm willing to listen to Matt right now, so let's let Matt finish with the recent developments from the TPO and all of his communications with DOT regarding the current status of this project.
So we have 2 concerns here in Malabar. Stormwater along Quarry Road, which we can improve as a part of this project. DOT has opened their doors and said we will include a construction project as a part of this turn lane project that they're already doing. So we can have a little bit of economy of scale, we can jump in on their project, and we can get our pipe underneath Malabar Road there. This is a center turn lane, part of the 3 lanes that they intended for this section with the widening project, which they've just completed their PD&E study on. And the next phase will be engineering, which is gonna take here several years. So,
I'm probably not as stupid as I'm beginning to feel now, but a center turn lane just isn't gonna be safe or cut it, period.
I
There's
think
no such thing, it's a center turn lane to turn right.
no person.
I will attest, being in my business location since 1993, 26, 27 years or so. Before they put in the turn lane, there was a lot more accidents, much like you see on Weber, where either somebody rear ends another car or they're off in the ditch.
And drives.
Yeah, and it was every day we would hear tires squalling and boom. You know, sometimes minor, sometimes major. But since they put in the turn lane in front of my shop, that we have had virtually no accidents in front of my shop, and we would have usually about 1 significant traffic stopping accident a week. including rollovers, in the ditches. I had a semi in my front yard one time because, at the shop, because there was a vehicle stopped. He didn't realize it till the last minute. He chose the eastbound lane and ended up on its side in front of my shop because he had nowhere to go. And it has helped tremendously having that third lane. And I don't know if you're supposed to do it, but sometimes you have to. I'll pull out in that middle lane and wait. The westbound traffic kind of freaks out because they think you're pulling out in front of them when you're heading just for the center, but it's still a way of getting out. And it's,
I use it, I live in the nursing home, that life care is right across the street from, just like that.
jump
It
out
takes
the
some
middle.
negotiating, but it can be, can I make a motion? I'd like to make a motion that we approve this with some commitment or guarantee or whatever that it's for a center lane and not a right turn lane. I'd like to make that motion.
Okay,
I
second.
would second that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Well, one of the reasons I think we ought to do this is, what's our major issue in Malabar? It's drainage, and anything that has a possibility of helping our drainage, helping get some water out of this town, I'm for.
And include that in the motion.
I'm not for holding a lot of land as parks, because I think we have more than we need in that section. If this will help us get some water out of the park, water out of the town, get some better drainage underneath the road, I'm all for this.
And also show the fact.
How did it have anything to do with drainage?
Can we put that in the motion somehow?
I think Matt has already said that they will allow us construction of that intersection to the.
Then that has to be part of the motion.
They just said that they didn't commit to that.
Okay, the motion is to adopt the ordinance with the following conditions. How's that?
Okay, that number one is a center lane, and
Number
number
two,
two,
that
we're
we get some
allowed
help,
to.
we get some help and improve.
Assistance and drainage.
Assistance,
In our major drainage.
Yeah.
Construction needs, however you want to verbiage that.
I thought they said in the beginning that DOT wouldn't do the drainage.
Define that.
Yeah, see, they're
Yeah.
saying,
How big a culvert?
DOT
So,
wouldn't do the
It
drainage.
has to be a general.
Here's the thing.
yes.
FDOT is not providing funding for our portion of the project. We have designed it, we have presented that to them, and they are going to try and help us find additional funding to go towards it once we get an estimate from them. But the cost savings that we're getting out of it is that we're able to kind of piggyback off of their contract, but as, they're constructing this at the same time.
Since they're already doing the work, they're gonna be, we're gonna be there doing it.
They're gonna be tearing up the road anyway, so we don't have to pay to get the road fixed, which would be really expensive.
But we need to be very specific here, because if you go around the state and talk to people in municipalities, I don't care whether we're talking about Sarasota, Fort Myers, where most municipalities find that they cannot believe what FDOT says to them unless they lock them down to city. And they've told us, I've got documents at home where they've told me what I think. Ain't even close. So if we can come up with a motion that is very specific about what we want and say it in plain English, then I can say yes.
DOT has the engineering on the project,
We have
on the
sent that to
details
them.
of the project of which we intend to construct at that intersection.
Yes.
So,
Because that
Yeah,
DOT
we'll
is
go
not
back on
a
that
user-friendly organization to the local municipalities, anywhere in the state of Florida.
yeah.
And I would challenge you to find somebody in Florida that would disagree with me.
All right, so the motion was to adopt the ordinance with
The resolution,
resolution with the stipulation.
I've got to
It's a
adopt
center
the
turn lane.
FDOT reso to acquire Fern Creek parcel for a center lane. That was the amendment that,
Okay,
Made
and
by,
then there was one more.
Center
What
lane.
about
the motion maker.
It's the inclusion of our.
I like that.
Which I have in writing. So,
That also includes
So
the,
we also have, it says we have that in writing from them now.
what?
that they will include the pipe project with the intersection improvement. So
Well,
we
this is
already
right,
have that.
I'm comfortable with it. But I'm not gonna believe what they say and won't put in writing. They're not a very honest organization.
So we don't need that as the second,
Condition.
We
Yeah,
already
yeah,
have
yeah.
that.
It's on, it's in writing, you keep on repeating.
all right, any other discussion? All right, so let's read the.
All right, let me
For
clean
sure.
this up.
Just so you don't like the covers.
Depends on half the damn to this.
Okay, so we have Councilmember White making the motion and made the amendment. Councilmember Vale to adopt the FDOT resolution to acquire Fern Creek parcel for the, with the condition it is for a center lane.
Yep.
Improvement.
Yep.
Center lane improvement, center lane intersection improvement.
All right, any other discussion? All right, I'll wait till she finishes.
Okay, and then we'll do a
roll call
roll
vote.
call.
And this will include the letter that Matt said he's got from them?
Yes, yes.
But it doesn't say so.
Well,
Any other organization, I would be picking at it. But
You tell me.
that organization, we gotta be very careful.
Roll call vote.
okay, Councilmember Ball,
Aye.
Councilmember Vale,
Aye.
Councilmember Rivet is excused, Councilmember Corn,
Aye.
Councilmember White. Motion carried 4-0.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on down to Danny's discussion item on the Hall Road. I just want to say before we start that the main reason we did that was the pipe was going to go from, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but it was going to go from Ralston westward. It didn't go north on Ralston, and you were kind of implying that. It's just,
Yeah.
it's strictly Hall Road, is that correct?
It goes up on flashing as well,
Flashy goes up how far?
360 feet,
Okay.
380 feet.
We
So it's
afford that.
Flashy, comes to the intersection, and then Hall West. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we're talking about
Right,
the
right.
right thing.
This that we're talking about is just that intersection of Flashy and Hall.
Okay.
Now, I understand, first off, what we're doing on Hall Road because there was not a ditch there. Okay. Unfortunately, we've set a precedent here. Luckily, we don't have that many residents that we may have to put a ditch in front of them and they don't already have one. Okay? But here, we have set a precedent that we will put in a culvert, you know, with the agreement that they just paid for the pipe, which is about a quarter of what the cost of this project is. Okay? That's not a good precedent set. We've done it. I'm buying this, all right? But then I go and look at running 380 feet of 18-inch culvert up Flashy Lane because they're worried their fence may fall into a ditch that we may have to improve there. And I'm sorry, you can build a whole lot of chain link fence for less than $10,000, okay? Which is, that'll be about our portion of that, that contract, okay, for Flashy Lane. All right, it's $5,700 to install the pipe. And then there's a certain amount of that fill and material and sod and all that applies to that also. So I'm just ballpark, it's probably somewhere around 8 or so, okay? And all I'm getting at is why are we doing this, you know, for cosmetic reasons when we could be addressing that intersection of Hall and Weber with very little effort? Mac, step in here and tell me
I was waiting till.
where I'm wrong here, because the way you explained it to me the other day, or what I got out of it, was all we have to do is improve that ditch on the south side of Hall down to Rollerson. There's already a culvert underneath Rollerson, there's already a culvert underneath Hall, and that water is supposed to feed down that ditch, cross underneath Hall, and then go to Cameron Creek.
Yes.
That was the original plan, and why that hasn't been done for years, it looks like I don't understand it. And so, you know, here I am looking at this, you know, that next morning I drove down Flashy, wondering what we had done to this resident. That we're spending $8,000 or $10,000 to make peace with them, and I don't see it.
I'm gonna find it. What's the purpose of the pipe along Flashy?
It's cosmetic.
Cosmetic?
It's to close the ditch.
Yeah.
You know, it's, the ditch is there, it functions, it's.
Go ahead.
Okay. What prompted that is the town, through a previous administrator, had tried to work with the residents of Flashy and Hall to put in underground piping. You know, this was kind of a pilot project, test project, to see what level of participation the town would have relative to the cost involved. And then you also have to remember that if it works as it's supposed to, the overall cost in the long run would be considerably less than maintaining, cleaning ditches with culvert pipes. That was the mindset. With that mindset, previous administrator gave this promise that we would work with them in installing the culvert adjacent to their property for this pilot project, test project, whatever you want to call it. So, in my opinion, as a town, we own the decisions and the promises made by previous administrations, or previous administrators, whatever. You know, you own everything councils, all the councils have done before you, and everybody ahead of you is gonna own what we decide. You know, that's how it works. So, I understand that maybe the flashy part of it, or just, as I said at the workshop last meeting, whatever it was, in hindsight, maybe we shouldn't be in the culvert installing business, especially significant lengths. You know, we, Public Works, do install culverts across roads, occasionally across driveways, but I don't think it's necessarily a business we need to be in. That maybe, and I'm kind of going off point, but if somebody wants a culvert, we as a town can provide the mechanism for them to put a culvert in.
We provide the
permitting, yeah. The permittings, and say, okay, well, you know, let them know in advance, we're gonna be putting this ditch through here for the good of the people, for the good of the town, for the good of the rest of the neighbors. And we're sorry, but your flat shoulder right now is gonna be 5 feet deep. So, at that point, you can give them the paperwork for the application process to put in culverts, but otherwise, we're coming through, we're digging a 5-foot deep ditch, so, because that's what we need to improve our stormwater drainage.
I'm saying though, this project has already failed, okay? All right, and now, I'm okay with, all right, we've got this major culvert on Hall Road that we need to complete for our sake. But this portion of Flashy does us no good at all, okay? All right, and it's a very small, minor ditch. The resident already told me they do not have a drainage problem on Flashy Road, okay? And I'm sorry, I know that we, as a town, we were represented and with this agreement, okay? But the concept cannot be completed as it was created, okay? And here we're having to pay a contractor, you know, tens of thousands of dollars to get it done correctly. That was never conceived of, okay? And I'm saying, okay, we're gonna do this, and I don't think we're shortchanging anybody, but this thing that's purely for aesthetics, okay, you can argue the fence if you want, but it's pretty much purely for aesthetics.
When you boil it down, the whole project is purely for aesthetics.
Right.
When you get down to the meat and potatoes of it, from the whole stretch along Weber's aesthetics.
Okay.
So
Is it finished?
Because
They finished the
it's
project?
helping get the water westward.
Right.
I believe the pipeline
Well, what he's saying is a culvert instead of just a ditch.
Yeah, we still
Okay.
could theoretically just originally had a ditch, that's what started all this, we started digging the ditch. The homeowner, the resident was very upset, and so that's why the administration came up with it. But and that's the town trying to work with residents, and that's what we do on a staff level.
And not to work,
But,
no, we've got to work with honesty.
yes.
Now, I'm gonna tell you right now here, and anybody wants to listen to me, the northwest corner of Flashy and Call Road, there is a 6-foot-high chain link fence that's been there since the mid-90s, and it would put in on the edge of the ditch, within 6 inches of the edge of the ditch. The ditch has not been cleaned or dug back towards that fence anymore. Even though a man came to the workshop we had and said it had, no, it hasn't. That thing was right on the edge of the ditch when it was put up. And this was in the mid-90s or earlier. Because it's when I was still taking that big truck in your backyard out to walks.
Is it 30 feet from the center line, the fence?
I have no idea, I haven't measured it, what I'm saying.
That's our code.
Well, I don't know, it's been there a long time, I would say leave the fence alone, but we are not, by having the ditch there, we are not endangering that fence, nor do we have any responsibility to put a culvert in there to reinforce that fence. That's not our job. We didn't put that fence where it is, we don't own that fence, and we have not dug the ditch any farther back towards it.
And it ain't gonna help the drainage.
There's plenty of drainage now, if the ditches were maintained properly.
So anyway, what I'm getting at.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Patient over here. All right, but the bottom line is if we put the culvert in along Weber and maintain it properly, it will move a larger volume of water and westward, and we won't ever have to maintain it again. As far as digging ditches, filling up, weeds, mowing, nothing, it's done. The resident mows the grass, and we do nothing but clean out the catch basins periodically, and it's really not that frequent of a period that we have to clean them out. Every couple of years.
Yeah.
So, okay, so the project is a good project. It's had its share of hiccups, and again, and if we back up a little bit here, have we not already committed to this being done contractually?
And probably voted last week.
So, as here's, you know, I mentioned and talked with the contractor, before we ever approved it and said, look, there may be some aspects of this that council does not desire to.
Can the town administrator commit the town, or only upon instruction from the council? I think that's where our law is.
It was upon instruction by the council at the last meeting that we approved.
Yep.
What?
Last week.
Let Matt finish here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, they're fine if you want to pull this portion out, that's not an issue. You know, I think the question here is, Danny, you probably want to make a motion to reconsider the
Yes,
bid and amend it to remove this portion.
right, that's what I'm getting at, okay? Well, one thing, if we want to spend that money, we could actually address drainage further down the road that needs to be addressed, okay? And I know the resident can see it as a, reneging on a deal. But the deal we made is not what's happening right now, okay? And so I will make the motion that we resubmit the contract for estimate without the 380 feet of 18-inch culvert and
Okay,
flash.
the motion has to be to rescind.
Well, we want to reconsider the motion made at the
That was
2/25/19
Yes.
meeting,
Right,
okay?
reconsider, motion to reconsider.
Yes, okay.
That's the motion. Is there a second? Is there a
And they're
second?
not here to be
I'll
represented.
second.
this meeting.
Okay, any other further discussion?
Well, now you want to say the rest of the language to delete the portion of
Yeah,
Yeah.
and what is the cost savings? Is it $8,000?
It's gonna have to go out for bid. It's already there.
Yeah, the equipment's already there, the mobilization.
I've got the estimate right here, I brought this,
Yes.
okay? All right, and the installation with this low bidder, the installation of 380 feet of 18-inch diameter pipe, which is that's all flashing lane. The installation alone is $5,700. Now, when you consider the materials that they're talking about, you know, for covering the culverts, a certain amount of that material and such goes to that culvert.
So side out, will fill that they have to bring in.
Right.
That portion out.
And so I have no engineering knowledge, I just know it's gotta be more than $5,700 of this
Because you gotta-
estimate. Right. And I figured, okay, probably 8,000, okay.
But I believe it has to be bid again when we change the
Yes.
requirement, because part of what you see there is not as simple as that. If you ask me to do a brake job on a car, and I give you a price, and you say, oh, I only want the front right wheel done, I'm gonna get more for that because I'm only doing a portion of it.
And I
And I
understand
still
that.
have to move all the equipment and do all this. So if we're gonna go back, I think the motion should be to do it your way and go back and get another bid on it.
Right,
And at some point, we will annoy them.
well, I'm sorry.
Well,
Yeah.
but they can say
This whole
no.
thing, okay?
I'm
But-
gonna, that.
But
I mean, that's kind of why we had it kind of broken down there. You know,
Yeah.
I forewarned them that this particular item would come up, so, they all bid with that in mind.
yeah, I would imagine they could do it just
Mhm.
in a matter of minutes, telling you what deleting that out of the original estimate would bring it down to.
So they all knew that this portion of the bid may be removed.
Right.
Okay.
Whatever we do, we need to commit to the whole town that we will do our best to maintain the infrastructure that we, as we've got it, the ditches. Talking to Warren Dustin the other night, who works for Palm Bay. And he's very familiar with this new piece of equipment that we got, the ditch mower, cleaner, whatever you wanna call it. And he said that thing is marvelous. That wasn't necessarily his word, but he liked it anyhow. But the point is, we've got to commit to maintaining what we decided that we were going to go with. And I think that's doable. Given the attitude of this council has been for years, keep the millage rate, the taxes to our people down, way down. I mean, if somebody said to me one day, well, why don't we put Brook Hollow in Palm Bay, and, because that's the only way you can get there is from Palm Bay. But the trouble is, they would go from 1.9, it was at that time, you know, to 2.0 mil tax to 7.6, which is what it was at that. I mean, they're a whole lot different in Malabar than they are in the rest of the real world. And we have kept prices down, and we've got, if we're gonna do that, we've gotta continue to make our commitments with that in mind.
I had Matt, would be a catch basin at Hall and Flashy Lane, so we have a pipe going from there westward, and then we have another pipe coming into a catch basin from the north, like, so this would be like a junction point, so we just,
Three-way.
yeah, right, but now it'll only be one way, with, to without,
In two ways.
you know. Well, where does the pipe start, is, like, if doesn't it start in a, it's gotta start somewhere, right?
It's right at the edge of the property that's in the
Right.
corner.
Okay.
The structure's already there, set.
No.
That structure is not.
No.
It's the other two or so that are set.
Any other discussion?
Just to kind of clarify with you, Grant, I mean, this doesn't need to go out to be completely rebid by all the contractors. So, I mean, we've selected the lowest, and I was brought to their attention, so we still have the lowest based on all the other items within the bid.
So you're saying it doesn't need to go out for rebid?
It's just an amendment.
It's an amendment to the contract, okay. All right.
I have one more thing to say, it's just, I have an ethics issue with it, that we promised, we as a town promised an individual that we would do this as a part of the job, and now we're reading it.
And they left last week,
That's the issue.
feeling like that it was already voted on.
I don't remember us as a council doing that.
Oh, no, wait a minute, it wasn't us as a council, it was our administrator.
Yeah, he sent out letters of interest to all the property owners, asking them if they would be willing to participate.
One came back.
Well, one negative one, I have a folder up in the front office, I wasn't, involved in the project, I just know it happened. There was no commitments made at that time. He was soliciting interest to see if the residents would be interested in having the ditch piped so that they would then have a nice area that they could mow and keep up.
Yeah, which also.
But
in the
there
long-
was no inference made that it would be on the town's nickel. They would pay for the pipe.
Yeah, they would pay for the pipe in the town. would
And
install
no
it.
one said, sign me up, I'll pay for the pipe.
With the exception of this house on the
Right.
corner.
Yes.
And the wife said, no, she didn't remember making that.
Nothing in writing.
There's nothing, that's what they
So
said.
unless we have something in writing, a commitment, a financial commitment on their end
Okay.
for the pipe, and keeping in mind, any pipe we put in the ground, and again, this was a test project, we're not gonna do this for anybody and everybody that asks. In my opinion, there was a commitment made, and if we put the pipe in the ground, we'll never have to mow and clean that ditch again.
And I think that was the point he was trying to prove.
We'd have to theoretically clean the box, and we're done with that particular portion of drainage. Is it worth the money? I don't know about that. But if our commitment, if this town made a promise to that resident that we would do it, if they contributed the monies, I think we're still on the hook.
Well,
It's an ethical thing.
we're still saying we're gonna do that, right?
No,
Did
you're
they
not,
commit the
you're
money?
saying you're not.
No,
They weren't here last week for that meeting.
But on Flashy, they didn't commit to us.
No.
That's where I'm.
The only ones
That's
we
where I don't
have,
have enough information.
the only one we have right now that's made a commitment is we're taken care of, right? It's the one on the corner where it goes under, and that's, if we go with your proposal, Mr. White, that's what we're going to address and correct. So that will be all the way done, right to Flashley and under Flashley, right?
Yes.
So that whole section will be taken care of. We just are not gonna make a commitment to go up
Flashy.
or go north on Flashy.
Right,
The
right.
same owner that owns this.
This is a corner lot, so.
They own Flashy and Hall, the same individual.
and this-
Do you have a map
this
of
is
that?
Yeah, what?
No, can we put it up on here?
I mean, it's not.
All of the property brings you.
It's the northwest corner.
Well, I know exactly where it is, I'm just gonna show you what's gonna happen.
Let's see what I can come up with. Come on, talk amongst yourselves.
I mean, basically, you're gonna dig a ditch down Hall Road.
You gotta come up to, state your name and address for the record.
It's not like we don't know you, but.
I'm Barry Proctor, and I live at 1540 Atts Road.
Thank you, Mayor.
The way this ditch is going is you're gonna go underneath Flashy Lane to nowhere. There is no ditch to the east of that. So you're gonna put a structure in on the east side of Flashy Lane that doesn't do a thing.
Well, now, it will take the water that's
It-
flowing down
it will one
Flashy
day.
on the east side of Flashy Lane, and it will go under Flashy with that other drainage on the west side of Flashy Lane, down Hall to the Tillman. So it does service Flashy Lane, but you're right. If
If
you
you go look at the guy's yard that you're gonna put the structure in,
right, if you
you're gonna
go,
have to put a piece of pipe and a head wall.
Wait a minute, we're not gonna put a structure in anybody.
Yeah, you are gonna have to.
No,
You
we're
can't
not.
just stick it out.
Why would we have to put a structure in anybody's yard? We don't have the right, we can't, I can't take city money and make an improvement on your property.
Matt, is that what they're gonna do?
We're gonna put a head wall in at the end of the pipe, yes.
A head wall in our ditch, in the town of Malabar's ditch, not on their property.
Okay, how are you gonna take care of the water coming north to south on Flashy Lane on the east side?
There's a head wall and a structure at the corner of.
You'll have to have two of them.
There's one on either side of Flashy.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
And if you don't continue this project all the way to Weber Road or to somewhere, it ain't gonna drain nothing.
We
which it will be.
They're not flooding anyway.
Barry, it's coming. We're gonna go from Weber westward.
Yes, we are going.
There's already a plan for that.
When? You know, I've been in this town for 40 years and I've heard this kind of stuff. Every time you decide to talk about drainage, we get all excited and we go about 20% and we stop and we go away and we do all kinds of funny stuff. We never finish it. When is that third project gonna start?
I don't know.
Well, that's
We're on
what
this project.
Danny's proposing is that we take the money from the flashy portion and move it over to
To travel west.
Well, that's fine. You can take the money and move it, but you have to do the work. You just can't move the money and not do the work.
Where the water comes from the west towards Weber along Hall, that's got to be improved.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
so you're gonna
It's at
pin all
council
this
level.
pipe down.
Thank you, thank
No,
you.
we're not gonna-
We're at council level as we have a motion, so I appreciate your comments.
That's fair.
I'm sorry, I couldn't pull up the internet on this.
That's fine.
Well, that's okay.
Any other
That's
discussion?
the idea.
All right, so I'll entertain, we'll vote on
Yeah, we have the
resetting
motion.
or reconsidering.
Reconsider.
Reconsider the motion made on 2/25/19 to approve the project minus the flashy lane portion of the project.
That's it.
Okay. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Nay?
Nay.
So, I'm gonna say anything else.
Yeah, okay.
So the motion failed, 3-2. All right, we'll move on to, the cell tower.
Okay, so, I know this was kind of, there was an impression that we had moved past this already, but, the contract was never closed on before, Doug left. And, me and Carl had some discussions about the actual contract itself, once I took over. And there was a few items that we felt, needed to be clarified with council so that you were fully aware of how the agreement was going to work on this cell tower. This is not a extension of our current lease that we have with Crown Castle South. This will be a new agreement with Crown Castle Towers 09 for an easement over the property where the cell tower sits. With that, they have also the option to increase that easement by 1,000 square feet anytime during the next 30 years that this easement covers. Financially for the town, we currently have a lease that expires every 5 years, and we renew it, and it's kind of worked well for us. This is an opportunity for